What's up, MFFLs? Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham, and let's answer some questions here on today's show. Appreciate everybody who responded to our community post. Couldn't get to all the questions, but we chose a few of the better ones. And hey, if you want to be on a future mailbag, use hashtag Mavs or hashtag MFFL, and we will try to use that on our next mailbag video. Let's go to Frank, kicking things off here. Frank5599 says, who do you like by the end of the year? Who do you think will be the third-string point guard? Campazzo or McKinley Wright? Very small sample size, but you have to guess. I mean, I'll lean Campazzo out of those two because he is a vet, and he's actually played real notable minutes in the NBA. So if I had to guess, I would say Facu Campazzo. But that's something that needs to be figured out. And honestly, I would hope Jaden Hardy has a better chance than McKinley Wright. Like, if McKinley Wright's playing minutes at some point, isn't that a problem, producer Coop? Like, that's not what you want. So obviously Luka and Dinwiddie are going to play heavy minutes, but we've been over this. They're not going to each play 82 games, especially Luka. Like, they're going to give him nights off. So they've got to figure out who can be that third guy. I think Campazzo is going to have the first look. He's played a little bit already, but we'll see how this shakes out over time. I mean, that's something they got to figure out. Frank Ntilikina is not really a floor general. He'll get some minutes at some point when he's fully healthy, and Jaden Hardy, we're kind of in wait-and-see mode until he's kind of full throttle. We don't even know if that'll happen this year. So Campazzo's option A. After that, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If you had to guess who will be the third point guard, type C for Campazzo, type W for Wright, type O for other. I'll go C for Campazzo, like I said, for the reasons I said it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let's go to GG Darius MLG. Is this the Luka MVP season? I mean, look, for the reason, kind of connecting to question one, if he's having to take even more of the workload, which on a video earlier this week, we told you he's having, 41.5% of the usage rate right now, which is easily most in the NBA. I mean, if he averages numbers like this was stats through 3 games, by the way, going into the Brooklyn game. I mean, 35, 9, and 8. Now, he'll need to shoot better from 3, but this is kind of what he does. He starts years out slow, shooting from 3, and then by the end of the year, he'll be 36%. That's kind of what he's done the last couple years. But if he's averaging 30-plus, close to 10 rebounds and 8 assists, I mean, he's going to be in the mix. Now the Mavs are going to have to be a 45, 50-plus win team. They're not going to put a 500 Mavs team, best player winning the MVP. That's just not what happens. I mean, the closest to that was Westbrook the year after KD left, but he got them to the 6th seed. And I think, honestly, a lot of the voters were like, well, this guy got screwed over by KD, which was true at the time, and he still put up crazy numbers and led OKC to the playoffs. That was a bit of a nostalgic one. I don't think Luka's getting the nostalgic vote because Jalen Brunson left. So we'll see. He's certainly going to be a top 5 candidate like he's been the last couple of years, but we haven't seen him get into February, March, April with a real chance to win it. Maybe this is the year that happens. Will Luka win MVP? Is this his year? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think there's a chance. It's hard to say yes for sure because there's other players that will have a chance, but I think this will be his best chance. How about that? Michael Usuri, any relation to Turdima? Yikes. Who should we trade Maxi for because he's trash, or should we give all his minutes to Pal is basically what you're saying. I think it's way premature to say that. He proved in the playoffs that he can be a rotation player. Now, I think we learned last year, especially after the All-Star break, this is not a super consistent player, right? Like, especially offensively. He's very up and down. Now, the defense is always there. He's versatile on that end. He can switch. He can guard fives. He can, guard on the perimeter. But, yeah, he can be a frustrating guy to watch because when the shot isn't falling, he can be a hole offensively. But they just extended him, guys. Like, they're committed to Kleber, I would say, at minimum through next year now with the 3-year extension. They wouldn't make a trade before then, I don't think, unless he's part of a package before the deadline. But I don't think 3-4 games in we're like, oh, it's Dwight Powell time. Do you guys remember the playoffs? He was so bad. I just don't think that's a move you make at this point in time. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have Mavericks coverage all season long here at youtube.com/MavsTV. We're closing in on 21,000 subscribers. Help us get there, and let's keep this train moving, baby. Let's make this the biggest Mavs channel on YouTube. Yo, Squiggly, will C. Wood become a full-time starter? Yeah, we explored that on a video earlier this week. Go check it out. Subscribe. But we'll expand on it here. I guess the question I have is, does it matter? Maybe it does. I mean, if McGee is giving you negative minutes to start games and you're getting in early holes, and by the way, I'll give producer Coop credit for this. They brought him in, and I think starting him to give you good defensive minutes early. They got waxed by New Orleans the other night to start that game. I'm not saying that's all on JaVale McGee, but if he's not going to be a plus defender, then what is his value? Yeah, he's still a lob threat, and he's going to grab a bunch of rebounds, but Christian Wood can grab rebounds as well, and he can give you 20-plus a game. I mean, the guy's averaging like 24 a game through the first 3 games. So we'll see. As long as he's playing 30 minutes a game, I don't really care. As long as he's closing games, especially when he's hot, I don't really care. But if it becomes a trend over time that the Mavs are falling down early in games, then, yeah, I think it's worth mixing it up. Now, I will say this. I think JaVale McGee was promised that he'll be the starter, but at some point you got to be held accountable too. Like, if you're not playing up to standard, then you got to make a change for Jason Kidd. I think it's too early to say that, but at the same time, like, C. Wood's your second best player right now. That's not up for debate. From Rob Daddy, why Kidd always wait so long in the fourth to put Luka back in instead of waiting? We're behind. We need Luka to go in around the 8-minute mark while we're still ahead. So Jason Kidd's rotation has kind of been as follows. Luka plays the first quarter. He sits the first 6 minutes of the second quarter, plays the whole third quarter, sits 6 minutes to start the fourth quarter. Now, you could argue that needs to be tinkered with. I think Jason Kidd is still figuring out rotations overall, but yeah, I think it's a fair question. Maybe instead of the entire third quarter, he plays 9 to 10 minutes. You give him that 2 minutes break to end the third. You get the long TV timeout at the end of the third quarter, 2 to 3 minutes to start the fourth. Then he plays the final 8 or 9 instead of the final 6. Maybe that's a route I would go, but I think he's still working through all of that. I think we got to, give Jason Kidd a little credit. I mean, he did a hell of a job last year, and that was after a slow start too. It's possible this team starts a little slow this year before he's got these rotations down. So let's give it time. Let's give it a handful more games and see how this comes together. But, yeah, I get your point where it's like, hey, we're 5.5 minutes into the fourth, and Luka's still sitting with the towel over his head. Like, maybe get the guy back in there. I certainly get where you guys are coming from. Grade the Mavs start, A, B, C, D, or F. I mean, listen, I'd say C for inconsistent for C there. Little inconsistent, no doubt, but I think we got to give it more time. They've lost 2 games on the final possession, essentially, so I'm not going to freak out over that. They blew out a good Memphis team. Let's see how the next few games go. All right, appreciate you guys for submitting those questions again. I think we're going to start making this a weekly thing, weekly mailbag here on a Friday or Saturday, depending on the schedule. So get those questions in, respond to the community posts when we put them up. That way we can get as many questions in these episodes as we can. YouTube.com/MavsTV is the place to subscribe, and we will see you soon on Mavericks Today.